Every single filmmaker, actor, public facing artist claiming to be apolitical, saying that film festival juries should not comment on politics, or that this is not the right platform to talk about that extremely fascist thing that has just happened that involved members of the filmmaking community, will have to reflect upon this time one day in the future, and the role their art played in maintaining the status quo. That's just how culture works, and films are culture. If your art is on the side of the might, upholding narratives that are easy to cower behind, steadfastly refusing to acknowledge its impact in a broken world, 20 years from now, when the pendulum swings the other way, which it will you have the strength to carry out that delayed introspection? Will you? Look, all these feelings are coming up right now because the two Oscar nominated films releasing in Indian movie theaters this week are both made by filmmakers and artists uninterested in mollycoddling political, gender, and race hierarchies, among others. Both of these films are about loss and healing. Let us talk about film critic turned filmmaker Kleber Mendonça Filho's The Secret Agent, and one of the only 3 women to have won the Best Director Oscar, Chloe Zhao's Hamnet. Well, hello. If you're new here, my name is Acharita. I'm an independent film critic who talks about Indian and international cinema exclusively on this channel. If you like what you hear today, please subscribe and show your support. We are trying to get to that 200,000 mark. It's not easy. Let's start with The Secret Agent, starring Wagner Moura in the lead role. The Secret Agent is a Brazilian Portuguese language film set largely in 1977. In an early dialogue, you hear the time being described as a period of great mischief, which you soon realize as you watch the film is a ridiculously mild explanation for what was actually happening under dictatorial rule in that era in Brazil. The opening scene stops your wandering mind once and for all. A man, whom we later get to know as Marcelo/Armando, drives up to a rather regular-looking petrol pump in the middle of nowhere on an unremarkable day. As he starts to pump gas, he sees an immobile body on the ground in front of him and realizes it's a dead person. The owner of the petrol pump, or at least the person who works there, is aware of the decomposing corpse and is so dejected to the rampant lawlessness and corruption in society. He doesn't seem too perturbed. But aware. As long as he can keep his job and keep dogs away from the body, he's okay to wait for someone official to arrive to take care of it. Marcelo, instead of responding with fear or panic, reacts to the event with melancholy, too tired to be shocked. And then he calmly moves on to his next destination. Through the rest of the film, you find out why he reacted that way. As his past life unfolds, Theo invites you in as an active participant, imagining, piecing things together. Why would an intellectual, a college professor, turn to a life of activism and have to go into hiding? Why is he looking for his dead mother's identification documents? Why are 2 killers looking for him? Who sent them? Will they succeed? And why does one of them look so much like Suresh Oberoi? Divided into 3 chapters, each corresponding with a different time in Marcelo's/Armando's life, Filho's film is immensely relatable, transcending language and setting almost immediately. Also, the Recife city setting of 1970s Brazil looks remarkably like Mumbai. The refugee house where Marcelo lives with other dissidents could be in Mahim. The landlady, easily somebody you might cross paths with at church. You see people eating this dish called coxinha, a food that looks remarkably like a samosa. Filho really emphasizes the commonality between nations and cultures, borders be damned. There are many Hollywood homages in this film. Many important scenes play out in a movie theater. Watch closely and you'll find, well, not that closely also, it's very obvious, a replication of the famous split diopter shot from Spielberg's Jaws. The frames look effortlessly vintage. Shots are even edited to give you the feeling of physical film being cut and spliced and pasted. All of this is without pretense. There's almost a documentary-style calm to a lot of the sequences in this film, giving you room to reflect, lament, and occasionally laugh out loud.
Não sou uma pessoa violenta, mas esse cara, eu matava ele com martelo.
There is texture on people's faces in close-ups. This texture in this world. Nothing is airbrushed. Missions, both murderous and rescue, are uneven, haphazard, real. The Secret Agent left me with so many things to ponder, where intellectualism can and must overlap with activism, how technology changes our relationship with revolution, how wrong it is to think that life under dictatorship will lead to some sort of utopian and well-run nation, that those who control electricity are almost always corrupt, and how films themselves can both heal and hurt. A cinema hall giving way to a literal hospital in the film's final act. All these questions arise only because writer-director Kleber Mendonça Filho gives the viewers the space and respect. He's not scoffing, he's not preaching, and Wagner Moura leads this storytelling with a performance that embodies the essence of the film, the desire for freedom, while also the longing to take root. The Secret Agent has already won so many awards, including Best Director and Best Actor at Cannes last year. It is now in Indian theaters, do not miss.
Eu quero buraco na boca.
For relation-made recommendation, I'd like you to look up Brazilian filmmaker Petra Costa's documentary Apocalypse in the Tropics. This incredibly effective and hopeful film focuses its lens on Jair Bolsonaro and those who cheered his neo-fascist far-right policies. She covers his rise to power all the way down to his downfall and escape to the United States. It's an absolute must-watch, Apocalypse in the Tropics. Before we start talking about the second film today, here's a reminder to subscribe to the channel for more reviews. And if you really would like to support the work that I do, which is fully independent by the way, join my Serious Cinephiles Movie Club by becoming a paying member of this channel. The link to that is in the description in this video. Now, Chloe Zhao's Hamnet, also in movie theaters, adapted from Irish author Maggie O'Farrell's book of the same name, right here. Hamnet tells the story of a young William Shakespeare and his wife Anne Hathaway, who's renamed Agnes in this movie and in this book. This is a fictional account of their early days together in the late 1500s in rural England. The title Hamnet refers to one of their 3 children, an 11-year-old boy. Usually when I like or love a film as much as I do this one, I would want to watch it over and over, and I want to recommend that you do the same. For Hamnet, however, I think I want you to experience it one time and never watch it again. Or at least wait till you're a different version of who you are right now. Sit with the grief and the fragility of the human condition that this film might bring on until then. Let the film mold you, not as a teacher or even as a film, but as a life experience. Wander with Agnes and her children in candlelit rooms of sadness and run wild in bewitched forests, not a worry in the world. Allow Jessie Buckley and Paul Mescal to become you, their forms merging with yours. If this sounds like the ramblings of someone high on LSD, so be it. But if you've seen any Chloe Zhao films except Eternals, she aims to transport you into the landscape where her characters dwell. That's the point of her films. Frances McDormand's cold van in Nomadland, the warmth of each campsite she sat around, the freedom of being on open water, everything. I felt everything. Same is true for Hamnet. Paul Mescal as William Shakespeare is once again devastatingly good. In this origin story, he plays a Shakespeare not yet defined by genius. Speaking with people is somewhat difficult for me, he says awkwardly to Agnes when he's trying to woo her, a young boy with a little crush. Mescal is so good at playing this unassuming younger version, you forget who he's playing for most of the film. Even as you see him write Romeo Juliet in one scene, and then another scene you see his kids perform Macbeth. In fact, the name William Shakespeare is said out loud only once in the film, when Agnes and her brother Bartholomew visit him in London. In doing so, Zhao steadfastly shifts the gaze onto Jessie Buckley's Agnes, a woman without the burden of greatness in her destiny. You never wonder what Agnes will make of her life, because in showing her go through 2 agonizing birthing sequences, the film is telling you that as a woman, she has already done more than any great playwright will ever achieve. Leave her alone. In contrast to what Shakespeare will go on to achieve in his life, William and Agnes's early life could not be more untheatrical. The beauty of the film sort of lies in this mundanity, in Agnes's desire to hold on to what she knows and stay where she wants, in her rejection of the pace of modernity. I have a glove, she says to William, the son of a glove maker, when he presents her with a brand new one. She's also proud to carry her mother's lore, that of being a forest witch. Personal catastrophe, it propels William towards greatness, but through Agnes, this film poses a harder question. How does one remain this kind of ordinary after extraordinary loss? Jacoby Joub as the young Hamnet is spectacular. He's almost the same age as the character he's playing, born into this home to break many generational curses and cycles, that of abuse, of gendered stereotypes, his father's writer's block, his mother's inability to let go. It's an unfair weight to carry, but he carries it well. In the film's final moments, Hamlet, the play, is staged for a brand new audience, among whom Agnes finds herself looking up at her husband playing a ghost. She's astounded and she's moved by this play's ability to bring her catharsis, the magic of performance art. If that sounds like something that might feed your soul this weekend, this film is also in theaters.
Bye.
Why?
Bye.
Why?
Okay, I'm really excited for this one. For relation में recommendation, I have 2 titles for you this time. 2. यानी कि total 3 हो गए इस वीडियो में. First, Chloe Zhao's very first feature film, 2015's Songs My Brothers Taught Me. It's another story about siblings, belonging, connections forged by birth, what home means. It's so wonderful. Songs My Brothers Taught Me. And second, Aranya Sahay's Humans in the Loop. This FTII graduate's first feature film also takes you to a village and into the heart of its forest, this time in Jharkhand. Technology versus heritage is also a debate that takes place here about rapidly evolving AI as well. At the center is an indigenous woman looking out for her children, who also may or may not be a daughter of the forest. Humans in the Loop. Up next, I will be talking about the Netflix India release Accused. If that review is out already, it should show up right here. And if it's not up here yet, then watch my other reviews right here. What you see below on the screen are names of all my channel members to whom I say thank you so much, thank you. My name is Sucharita. Thank you for stopping by.